Mac and Devon, care to care? Robert McCullum was born into a family of police officers on his father's side. He always desired to grow up and be like his father and his grandfather. Both were decorated officers and well respected in the field by their peers. The other officers called him Mac. Mac went into the academy after a 2-year community college run. He excelled in his classes, the psychological testing and the physical training. He was a model officer who made his family proud. Right out of the academy, Officer Mack married his current wife, Jean. He met Jean during college, where she was studying to become an RN, and they had been inseparable ever since. They are parents of 2 small girls, Amy and Ashley. Mac's life was working well. He was happily married with 2 daughters, and his home was in a low-crime area. Mac often patrols the lower-income areas. These are the areas his father and grandfather referred to as high-crime areas, and they only entered if they are called into. Mac remembers stories told to him as a child about the drugs, shootings, and robberies that occurred on his beat. He always made sure he had backup as much as he could, but there were times when backup was not available for him, which he prepared for. He had earned the reputation of being tough on residents on his patrol. The majority was the black population. He felt like he had to be more forceful in order for him to live to see another day, as his grandfather put it. He enjoyed how the black community would fear him and the power he had. He used fear to make them straighten up as he drove through and interacted with the residents. Some called it harassment, but he kept calling it keeping them in line. One day, Mac received a domestic disturbance call on his beat. He took the call and asked for backup, as he always did, but backup would be a few minutes away. He arrived at the address he was given at a housing project. Bracing himself, he walked past the gate, past the cars in the parking lot, and up the path to the apartment. He listened and did not hear anything inside the house. Then he knocked on the door, identifying himself. As a young woman slowly opened the door, he heard a gun being cocked behind his head. As he slowly turned around, there was a man with a .45 pointed at his face. He was being ambushed. The white man smiled and pulled the trigger, but the gun did not fire, and this gave Mac time to act. He knocked the gun away and engaged in a fight with the man who seemed to have superhuman strength. What was only a few minutes seemed like hours as Mac was in a fight for his life. When backup finally arrived, the man had wrestled away Mac's gun and pointed it at him. His backup opened fire on the suspect, who then fell to the ground. Ambulances were called for both the officer and the suspect. The suspect was pronounced dead at the scene, and Mac was taken to the hospital. For Mac, this was a life-changing event. He had mandatory counseling, but went through the motions. It was important for him to look like he could handle his job. After all, he is a third-generation cop of well-respected officers. How would it look if he could not handle his job? But the nightmares and flashes kept coming. Along with the many questions, what could I have done different? What if I waited for backup? How could I have known that there was an ambush? He could not shake the fear he was carrying, and although he would not talk about it, his demeanor changed. He became irritable at home and paranoid. He started drinking heavy, and it was affecting his marriage and his children. Jean was ready to leave with the girls when he suffered a heart attack. It was a mild heart attack, but the doctors found stress to be the cause. It was affecting his blood pressure, his heart rate, and giving him ulcers. His doctor, Dr. Bishu, put him on medical leave. He prescribed the usual medicines and antidepressants the insurance company allowed for, and he recommended the mandatory counseling that was normal for these incidences. But Mac did not like the way he felt with all the different medicines. He was he still could not accept that he almost lost his life. Jean was trying to stick around, but she kept in mind that this would be a temporary situation. Mac's life was spiraling out of control. He knew something had to change, but he did not know what to do. While up late one of his many nights, he came across a documentary about healing plants and medicine men in the Amazon. He watched, fascinated by the success people were claiming. He did some research online and found more testimonials of success. He argued with himself about whether this was real or whether he even believed in it. But the thought of losing his job, his wife and kids, and his home convinced him he had nothing to lose. He immediately booked his reservation to spend 30 days in the Amazon jungle. He would be with the local tribes who would administer plant medicine and help him through the healing. When he told Jean what his plans were, she thought he'd lost his mind and she would not see him again. She asked him not to go, but he insisted. She respected his decision, yet she did not agree with it, and he was off.